to Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
What is going on, Forgers? Welcome to Season 2, episode number 55 of Heroes Forge, a community-driven podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm Jeff Reynolds, the show host, and as always, I'm here with the awesome co-host of the show, Kristen Ashton, who is more awesome than an open bar. How's it going, Kristen?
It is going great, Jeff. Open bars, huh? You better make sure there's a limit on that alcohol because I drink it like water, which is a total lie if you've seen me on Saturday nights. I've got 2 Smirnoff Lights. We have little drinking games that go along with the game I'm playing. I barely get through one, and I'm already having a great time. Best game ever.
Absolutely, yeah. Open bars are crazy. I'm telling you. The funny thing is that some of you out there may know, some of you may not, but on Saturday I got married, so we had an open bar on Saturday, and let me tell you what, people definitely take advantage of open bars.
They do, and congratulations, by the way, Jeff, congratulations. Was it the best party you've ever been to?
It absolutely was the best party ever, but in truth, I am so committed to this show that we are back. We have not missed a week. We are back. No, it's been an amazing weekend. Tons of family, tons of friends were around, so it was just really, really, really cool and a highlight of my life for sure.
Well, that's wonderful, wonderful to hear. And like you're saying, it's nice. It's great with weddings. And for all of you that have never done a wedding before, know that you go in stages before the wedding happens. And one of those stages is going, we should just elope. You know, it would be so much easier if we eloped. But if you get past that, it's going to be super stressful up until you walk down the aisle. But as soon as that's done, the after party is totally worth it. 100% worth it.
Absolutely. Well said. Totally. Don't get discouraged during the planning, because once you get out there, I mean, you've got people dancing and just, it's just a blast.
You got drunk in-laws, you got drunk immediate family, you never thought would drink as much. It's, if only for that, it's worth doing.
Absolutely. Let's get on to some Heroes of the Storm news, because that's what we're here to talk about. Okay, well, since I've been out of the scene for a little bit, Kristen, why don't you talk about this first thing that's on the map here, because this is really exciting.
Yes, Valeera Sanguinar, who I believe we forged already, is hitting Heroes of the Storm. She goes live tomorrow, actually, on the PTR. And what we're seeing, she's basically a rogue, the rogue from Warcraft. Now, not the new outlaw rogue, right? We don't have gunshots or anything like that. We've got Vanish. We've got Sinister Strike, which I'm sure all of you rogue players are familiar with. Blade Fury, Eviscerate, Smoke Bomb, and Cloak of Shadows.
Wow. It just sounds like it hit the mark totally. And the model is awesome. And the little that I got to see of her, there's a Demon Hunter skin.
There is. I would argue that her Demon Hunter skin is actually cooler than either her regular skin or her heroic skin.
Yeah, I would be on your side of that argument. I mean, because, you know, I'm a Demon Hunter main. I love the Demon Hunters. It kind of makes me sad to think, you know, same reason that people would be sad that Widowmaker was made a skin for Nova. Like, oh man, that means we're not going to see Widowmaker in the game. Well, maybe we'll see. I mean, we have Illidan in the game, who is, you know, technically the same type of look as these Demon Hunters, but something unique about him. So maybe we'll see another unique Demon Hunter in the game, but I'm thinking that skin is legitimate.
It is fantastic, but I am also super, super excited. Not about the rooster mount. That one made me laugh more than anything, but that will be fun to ride around on. But the monkey skin for Samuro, because not only is it a complete transformation, but he wields a bow staff, which I'm really interested in psychologically because it makes that wooden hitting sound. So I wonder if you can lull people into the false sense of them thinking they're not taking that much damage because it doesn't sound like the swish, swish, swish of the samurai sword. It's a wooden hit of a bow staff.
That's a really interesting thought. I mean, I bet that would definitely be a psychological game for some people to you know, have to get used to that. And this is one of the first I mean, this is a huge change in just a skin. We have some changes in skins, and I can think of a few that make some huge changes. But this one, I mean, it's got the same silhouette, but it's, like you said, different weapon, different. It's very different. I think it's really cool and also a little creepy.
A little bit, right? It's the monkey thing, and monkeys creep out a lot of people. Maybe it's because we're so closely related genetically. Maybe it's because the weird little fingers they have or the faces that clearly show emotion. I don't know what it is with monkeys, but Bright Wings Flying Monkey again. Not one that went over well, but still works.
Yeah, it's a cool skin. And I mean, I haven't even got to play this week's Brawl, but I heard that it was killer, that it was really, really good. Have you played it yet?
Yes, it's exactly what a Brawl should be. It's a Punisher arena. And this one may or may not have been out already, or it may have been tested at one of the BlizzCons, but you choose through one of the 3 heroes, and then you go out and you fight Punishers. And the enemy's Punisher, if you kill it, is 10 points. If you get enemy kills, that's 4 points for each enemy killed. So it rewards you for team fights. It also rewards you for going after the objective.
No way. That sounds really, really fun. And I think I am with you there too. I think we have played that at some point. Maybe it was at BlizzCon, or maybe it was one of the first Brawls that came out. But I just love, I mean, because it's like the 4th of July with all this stuff going on. You know, these Punishers are coming out, and Frozen Punisher is launching everything, I bet. And like, it's just got to be a crazy, crazy battle. And you may get a hero that you're not super familiar with.
Exactly. So you're trying to figure out what the heck's going on, hopefully against people that don't know who they're playing, but probably do.
Totally. Did you have a Team League game that was just insane? Because the next thing on our notes here is Team League game to end all games.
Okay, so this video is not up yet, but I'm going to tweet it out when it goes up. It was this 40-minute long game, and I tell you, I have never played against an enemy team that I felt so even against. It was blow for blow the entire time. We were all sweating, and just it felt like a physical activity because we were all so focused and working so hard. And there was one point we tried to end it 3 times before we finally could. And so one point we're trying to retreat from the core, and 2 of our team members, maybe even 3, are down to slivers of health. And Bo Schwartz, who's on Brightwing, landed this Emerald Wind that saved us and basically won us the game. Once it goes live, check Twitter, because that thing is going to be tweeted. It's a great, great game.
Oh, I can't wait to watch it. 40 minutes is crazy. I don't think I've had some 30, 35-minute games, I think, but once you get to 40, I mean, you're basically at this point where if you lose a team fight, it's over.
Exactly, and that's what it was. It was a game of chess every time there was a team fight, but luckily, we managed to have that slight advantage, and everyone on that enemy team, hugs and high fives all around. That was mad respect from that game.
That's really fun when it's even like that and not a stomp. Although stomps when you're winning can be fun too, right?
Exactly. You need some bad losses, you need some good stomps, and then you need those really, really good games.
Yeah, heck yeah. That sounds like a blast. I can't wait to watch it. So, the Nexus Raiders design contest happened.
It did. We met on Thursday evening, and we looked through all of the entries, and we picked our favorites with comedy and everything, and then we had the overall winner, and that turned out being the mapped concept by Andrew Starbuck, also known as Satisfying within the Nexus Raider community. And he built a map, a Protoss map, that we are going to discuss in depth next week, because we need to feature this thing. It is awesome.
Yeah, and you know what? A Protoss map sounds so cool, and I can't wait. I always talk about this kind of stuff because I'm thinking, yes, these events that they do, and the one that they did before where they came out with the 2 new StarCraft maps, I could take more. Let's go. Give me some more StarCraft maps. Those maps look so good in the game. Give us a Warcraft event. Give us all these things in the possibilities are limitless is what I'm trying to say. Like, you can go with all of these things, and that's what makes this show work too, right?
It's true. You pull a little bit from everything, and that's the beauty of the Nexus. Like you're saying, like this show, you pull from every world of Blizzard, and you really have such creative freedom because of that. Limitations, sure, but freedom, definitely.
Yeah, it can go anywhere, and that's really neat. The Nexus Raiders design contest was an awesome idea by those guys over at Nexus Raiders. I believe they're trying to do it every year, so keep an eye on that. Follow them around on Twitter and everything, because they've got some really, really great content and some stuff that we get to feature on the show next week. So stay tuned for episode 56. Next week, we'll be talking about the winner of the Nexus Raiders design contest. All right, it's time to do what we came here to do. Let's forge.
Let's forge.
Just like every week, we take a character that's not in Heroes of the Storm and we imagine what it would be like if they were put into the game. But this month, we've been going on a little special roll here. Every week, we've been taking submissions from our listeners that send it into us and building off of those kits, something that we like to call featured Forger episodes. Normally, we only do it once a month, but since we have so many kits backlogged, we're knocking out a whole bunch of them. Make sure all of your ideas get heard out there. And this one is truly awesome, Kristen.
It is. It harkens to H.P. Lovecraft. And if there's one person, I think pardon me, I'm pushing things around here and I scared myself. All of us nerds can rally around is the language and the horror and the story and the imagination that H.P. Lovecraft put into his stories in the early 1900s.
Yeah, it's really cool. And it was sent to us by one of our listeners, right?
It was. It was sent to us by Kaleb Land.
Very cool. And this kit is insane. So what hero are we forging with Kaleb this evening?
Well, this evening we are taking on one of the four, and his name is Cthulhu.
Cthulhu! I'll tell you, most of my experience with Cthulhu was in the Old Gods expansion for Hearthstone. But after doing the research on Cthulhu, I mean, this is a pretty bad entity.
He's very, very nasty. I watched the videos of the Ahn'Qiraj battle, right? And this guy, I don't know how many people he killed during his heyday. I would like to see the stats for that. Which WoW bosses have killed the most heroes?
Oh, yeah, that'd be really cool to see. Yeah, especially because how many people were playing the game at the time and how hard the boss was at the time and all of that stuff. That'd be a really cool stat.
It would be, and then you could rank the boss and how awesome they are based on the number of people they wiped again and again and again.
Oh yeah, the most killer, quote unquote, bosses in World of Warcraft. Blizzard, if you're listening, we want to see that, because that would be really, really neat. All right, we're talking about Cthulhu here, sent in from Kaleb. So the way that this works is Kaleb has an awesome Cthulhu build that he even put onto Heroes Fire. It's like this huge website where you can have all of these builds and you can create this kit for characters with pictures and talents and traits and everything. So we're going to link all of that in the show notes so you can head on over there and check out his build. So Kristen took an ability from his and I took an ability from his, and we forged 2 more kits too, just as always, like we do for featured Forger episodes. So let's get straight into it. Kristen, tell us a little bit about Cthulhu.
All right. The old gods, called Shoth-Yar in their own horrid tongue, are eldritch horrors from the void itself. Among the 4 we know of to come to Azeroth, Cthulhu came to corrupt the sleeping Titan world soul of the planet, attaching itself and festering like a cancer. Though, in time, benevolent beings came to stop him, it was too late to truly prevent his leeching, the old god having dug so deep and attached himself so strongly that killing him meant killing Azeroth itself. After war played its course, Cthulhu was contained within Ahn'Qiraj. In time it was awoken by the arrival of the dragons and foolhardy adventurers, and was slain by their very hands, its eye delivered to the red dragon, Kalestraz.
Yeah, just a horrid, I mean, I love how you talk about, I mean, all of this. It's this terror, really. This old god, this terror that's living on Azeroth, affecting everything that's going on. How do we bring that to Heroes of the Storm, you know?
You're right, because we're talking about a creature that is beyond knowledge. It is so horrifying, so terrifying, so evil that our brains have not evolved to the point where we can even comprehend this. And I think Mass Effect, the first one especially, did a great job kind of building that kind of story, basing it off of these eldritch horrors like Cthulhu from H.P. Lovecraft stuff, which Cthulhu is clearly based off of the lore.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's really hard. I mean, it was hard for me to bring this to life, and especially because Kaleb's kit was so great and had so many great ideas of this. I mean, this guy has got a huge eye for a head. I mean, really, that's not his head, but that's just this huge, massive eye. And then these tentacles that reach out of the ground in the World of Warcraft battle. And then, of course, if you bring him from the Hearthstone world, he's a super powerful game-winning condition where you play him and he's affected by all of his followers and is able to deal massive amounts of damage to minions and the enemy hero. And I mean, it's a massive play in Hearthstone, so it would have to be a massive play in Heroes of the Storm 2. And in Kaleb's kit, I mean, it hits the mark, and it reminds me of a lot of when we talked about the Overmind, when we talked about that about a year ago now, what that would be like. It's got the same type of feel as the StarCraft Overmind, and so let's get it started. So if you don't know out there, what we do is we're going to put these kits together, and then on Twitter you can vote on which kit you think is the cooler of the two kits, or which one you think's the most viable or the funniest, or whatever you think. You can vote on it on our Twitter page, which is twitter.com/ForgeHeroes. And over there last week for the Soldier 76 kit, I had the most votes. So I won the kit build, and that means Kristen gets to go this week first, very, very, very first, with her Kaleb-inspired Cthulhu.
Well, congratulations before we get this started. Congratulations. It was a solid build last week, man.
It was fun. Yeah, Soldier 76 was a great episode. If you haven't listened to 54, head on over to iTunes or our website, HeroesForge.club, and you can check out 54, episode 54, Soldier 76, all of these numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8. All right, let's get started with Kristen's build of Cthulhu. What role classification were you thinking over there?
I want him to be an assassin. I think he should be able to deal amazing amounts of damage. I think he should be able to kill people, is basically where I get the assassin from.
Yeah, and all of his quotes and everything he says in this, maniacal, menacing, deep voice, it just reads as like, you're going to be murdered. I mean, basically how it sounds. So I think assassin fits.
And I think one of the lines, too, you are going to have a heart attack. I think that one's my favorite.
Your heart will stop beating. Hey, it's pretty matter of fact. He's keeping it real. Cthulhu is keeping it real.
Right, he's going to scare you so bad, your heart's going to stop. That's not unheard of. That is not unheard of.
No, it's not, and it's very literal. What were you thinking for the trait that follows Cthulhu around on the battlefield?
Right, the trait is going to be called Madness Manifest. Hidden away in hopes of being forgotten, Cthulhu bursts from the very core that was to be his prison for all eternity. From this seat of power, Cthulhu plays with enemies like the puppets they are.
All right, so I think we're on the same page with this, and I think Kaleb's build is the same way, where you're saying that Cthulhu takes over the core and acts as the core.
Correct. After watching the fight, I mean, Cthulhu is huge. There's no way I could do justice to Cthulhu and have him move around with his tentacles and eyes and everything. Yeah. He is so powerful, he doesn't need to do that.
Great. So this would be a super specialty character like we have in Abathur, like we have in Murky, Lost Vikings, Cho'Gall, those ones where they come out and you say, whoa, that's Heroes of the Storm status. Those crazy things that happen, right?
Yep, and this too allows for the idea that maybe the battleground you're on was built over Cthulhu himself, so that kind of explains why now he would have global abilities.
Ooh, I want to hear these. So you're thinking that he won't mount, obviously, because he's not going to move.
Correct. I mean, maybe he could spit out a bubble or something if you hit mount, but yeah, nothing would happen.
I love those custom animations because you can't mount, but you could do something really funny or cool if you couldn't mount.
Exactly. Maybe you could tell everyone they're going to die horribly in a rogue horse crash or something.
Your legs will be broken and you'll stop breathing. Something like that. Very cool. Let's get on to these global abilities then. What's your first one?
First one is called Thrashing Tentacles, and you summon a tentacle that deals damage in an area around it. If an enemy remains within a tentacle's range long enough to accrue 3 stacks of damage, they are then grabbed and held until either they kill the tentacle or are killed themselves. And this ability itself has 3 stacks, so you could lay 3 tentacles, boom, 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 in quick succession before needing to wait for a cooldown.
Oh, neat. Okay, I love this. This has got me into like the Hell Yeah battle in some of the newer dungeons that are in Legion where these tentacles pop up. So a couple of questions. So you're saying if it gets hit by 3 stacks of these tentacles, then it gets grabbed. So if they're hit by 3 separate tentacles, or does it have to be the same tentacle that hits them 3 times?
I'm thinking it would be the same tentacle that hits them 3 times. So it's whipping around relatively quickly. So maybe every second or third rotation, you get a stack.
Oh, okay.
And another rotation, you get a stack.
Oh, I see what you're saying. This would be awesome with like battlefield control and where you want people to stand and the positions that you want to put people in. And if they don't listen to what you're basically setting up, then they're going to get CC'd.
Exactly. And you'd want to set it too so that you could drop it on somebody. And if they're not fast enough to react, they're going to get grabbed. But it's not so fast that they don't have a chance to get out of the circle itself.
So how long of a stun are you thinking here? Same thing like Kerrigan's stun or Mirrodin's, hammer throw stun?
I'm thinking they're trapped there for a good time, because when you're grabbed by the tentacle, I think you can still basic attack it. You probably don't want to use your abilities because it's so close range, but you can definitely beat it to death in enough time to get out.
Oh, I see. So this is like an octo grab, but you can get yourself out of it.
Exactly. So that way, too, if you're walking around by yourself, maybe Cthulhu pops one, it grabs you, but there's no one really to complete it. It's not going to really do anything except frustrate you.
That's really neat. I love it. Okay, second basic ability to go along with that one.
Okay, the second one is called Mindless Men, and this is the featured forger ability because you can't have creatures like this and not work in madness. So you make a random hero on both teams go insane. And insane here means attacking anyone and anything they meet until death.
Whoa, so they're just going to keep on pushing. So this is from Kaleb, right? So you guys are saying that, in my understanding of this, that it would even attack friendly heroes?
Correct. So you'd have one good guy, one bad guy, both go insane until they die. So this could work if you had a Murky on your team or Lost Viking, but the other team doesn't have any quick death heroes.
Yeah. So are you able to, do you believe, target your hero? For example, if Vala gets going insane and she's attacking everything that's on your team and their team, as a friendly player, are you able to target them and try to take them out?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say yes. I think it would be fair if both people that go insane are now targetable by anyone and everyone. Just because they're mad, they're no longer a part of this hero's human experience, if you will.
Yeah, but that would be great. I mean, I'm thinking of how you could combo wombo this into, making sure. Well, it's random. Oh, this is crazy. Because I was thinking you would just have to abandon the lane that your friendly, insane hero is in. Because then they would, of course, be attacking the enemy. And you could just let them go and not have to worry about getting hit yourself. But then you'd run into the problem of your minions and mercenaries getting hit by them and hoping that they get taken out. Although I believe they'd get taken out pretty fast because they're just going to keep pushing. And if they, the towers are then going to target them, I would guess. And so, this is cool. You'd have to have a really cool strat. And then, of course, that's the defensive side of it. The offensive side is hoping that you get someone that's on, in a bad place for them, especially during like a team fight.
Exactly. And maybe you could learn how to kite the crazy one from the enemy team, right? And that way you could get them away and into a place where you could quickly kill them while your crazy person is doing insane amounts of damage to the other team.
Yeah, that sounds really, really cool and crazy. I mean, that's literally madness out there on the battlefield, which says Cthulhu so well. Bravo, Kaleb. Great ability. Let's get on to the third one here. What are you thinking?
Next one is called Gibbering Gap. I love this one because the fight, Cthulhu looks like he's just an eye, tentacles, which aren't surprising, but there's an entire bottom section that you fall into. There is a stomach in this thing. Below an enemy hero, a mouth opens on the ground, swallowing them whole into the stomach of the beast. While eaten, they take damage over time and are released after a few seconds. Once spat out, they come out with additional poison damage applied.
Oh, this is gross and awesome. It's like a Stitch's stomach, but on a basic ability that can't move.
Bingo. That's exactly what I was envisioning. And they're walking along and suddenly they're swallowed up and now they're stuck in there for a bit. And when they come out, there's going to have been a lot of damage done to them.
Oh, that's awesome. And then you could combo this with your first basic, the tentacles. And while they're inside of the stomach, you could be placing tentacles strategically like towards their tower or something, so that as they're trying to get out, these tentacles are also dealing damage to them and maybe possibly tying them down as well.
Yes, and I like to imagine too, since they're gibbering, they're saying things at you and they're talking to you and they're like, "Come here, you look delicious. Jump in my mouth."
Yeah, that's gross, but that's really, really, really cool. So what do you see? Is this like a Stitches overlay? When you get swallowed, you see this gross stuff on the sides? Or are you actually like, because I know in the raid, when I watched the fight of Cthulhu, it takes you down into a different level of the battle, and you're down in this thing. I know that would be a completely, UI change to be able to do something like that, although we do see it when you go into the haunted mines. You're able to travel down to a different level. So are you some other place, or are you just getting an overlay on your screen, you're thinking?
Because it's a basic ability, it would just be an overlay on the screen, I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's cool. Although it'd be really cool if you had some sort of heroic that would cause them to have to kill things when they're down inside the stomach in order to get out.
Maybe. I didn't think of that, but that's a great idea. That would be a wonderful heroic to combine with that.
What do you think
talent.
Yeah, a talent. Yeah, a level 20 talent that if you get swallowed, you have to fight your way out. What are you thinking for your heroics then?
All right, the first heroic is called Accursed Acid. Erupting from the ground, a giant mouth, and this isn't going to be a mouth flat to the ground. It's one that's up perpendicular to the ground.
Okay.
And it's a giant mouth that begins spewing vile green stomach acid on the entire enemy team, coating them in a heavy poison damage over time and slowing all covered in it. This shower continues for the duration of the ability, stacking up to 5 times if enemy players are not able to move away in time.
Oh, another gross one. I mean, this giant mouth is coming up out of the battlefield. Is it like does the projectile, the vomit acid that's coming out of this mouth, does it move in specific directions, or is it like a cone and that entire cone is getting hit at the same time? Or would there be a way to dodge it if it was more like a garden hose and spraying in specific directions?
I imagined it initially as a stationary cone, but a very, very big cone, just so there's a bigger chance that the enemy team could get out with being slowed basically to a halt. However, that would be pretty cool if you could later talent into it, where you then have control of this nasty stomach mouth and you can slowly rotate it.
Oh, that'd be really neat. I love this ability, and the slow is just great. Just that massive slow. And then already I'm thinking of drop a Phoenix on top of it as well, or a Hyperion on top of it, get them slowed and stuck in there, and Starfall or something crazy in there that just does damage to these people that can't get out.
It would be gross. Then Thrall comes in with his earthquake and Rhaegar gives everybody bloodlust, and then you go and you quit and you wonder why you decided to play today. It was such a good day.
GG. Let's talk about your second one. What were you thinking for that?
Okay, last one is known as Tenebrous Team. Using the power of the old gods, Cthulhu cloaks his team in madness. Though they can be seen, any enemy that faces them begins to go insane the longer they face their opponent. When insane, the enemy player does less damage and attacks slower while having their mana or rage or whatever it is they use drained. This stacks up to 5 times, eventually halting them in place and rendering them useless.
Okay, first of all, extra points for using the word tenebrous.
Thanks. And it's not something I came up on my own. I looked up a list of the most used words by H.P. Lovecraft, and I knew I had to use this one.
Yeah, that is great. That is really great. So extra points already. I think this is awesome, and I think it sounds really, really powerful, but we all have to remember that this is basically taking the place of a hero on the battlefield, so it has to be powerful, right?
It does. It needs to make up for the fact that there is not a body there. I mean, Abathur gets to clone a hero that's already on the team, which is very, very frustrating, say, if there are 2 Illidan's going in at the same time. That's a lot of damage. Or his monstrosity, which he can spawn, and pushes lanes obscenely well if you do not watch that thing.
Yeah, so I mean, you're taking some crazy ideas here and putting them into this heroic. The insanity thing plays so well to Cthulhu and the whole thought of, him being there and just driving you crazy, right?
Yep, and in one of the games I've played, Call of Cthulhu, Dark Corners of the Earth, a lot of the mechanics of boss fights are very much like that. If you look at something horrifying for too long, your sanity meter starts to shrink and your vision goes crazy, and you have to go stand in a corner and stare at the wall for a few minutes until everything gets back together before heading out and trying to figure out the puzzle.
Yeah, that's the coolest part about this. So are you thinking that the enemy heroes have like one of those dotted line circles, like their vision area where they can what they're looking at, and then you try to stay outside of it in order to not be looking at them, or the friendly heroes rather? I mean, how is it visually represented in the areas you can't stand, and how close you can be to them without looking at them?
Oh, that is a great question. Visually, I'm imagining the heroes' bodies, the team of Cthulhu, all of a sudden become black, but you can see the universe through them, kind of like that. So you're driven mad because you're looking at a starscape that doesn't make any sense, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But as for the range, maybe there's a smoke billowing out on the ground, and that shows the area.
That'd be really cool. So if you turn away from them, no matter how close they are, you thinking that it doesn't affect you?
Correct. And I would imagine that would be then shown, if we go with the smoke idea, that the back's to them, then you have this cone of no smoke, because the body of the player, the enemy player, is being confirmed that they are looking away and they're blocking that madness.
I see. Oh, that'd be really, really cool and really hard to play against, right?
Yeah, I would imagine you'd want to just run away.
Yeah, it's
one
like
of those
when
moments. Tyrande makes everybody invisible. Was it Shadowstock?
Right. Just go away. Fight it. Live to fight somewhere else.
Exactly. You don't have to fight when Bloodlust is going. Just let it die and then come back and fight.
Absolutely. Or, if you took that other heroic with the giant mouth that spews vile green stomach stuff, you do have to fight, because if you don't get out of there fast enough, you're not going to make it.
Exactly. You got to stand your ground, because you're certainly not getting out of it in time.
That is a really cool idea. I love the visual of these characters changing the way that they look. I think that's one of the coolest things that happens when Illidan takes over someone and they're when Abathur takes over someone, and it could be Illidan, and they're like a shadow Abathur or shadow Illidan, all these names on the battlefield fighting around. I just think that looks so cool.
It does, with the shadowy smoke and everything, and it's so frustrating too because how many abilities get sunk into that clone. And the good clones, you don't realize they're clones until well after they're already dead and they've sucked up your mana.
Oh yeah, and if they're targeting the clone, the enemy or the team is like, yeah, go ahead, target that clone. It doesn't help you at all, and it only helps us because the rest of us are gonna live. Yeah, it's one of those things you have to play around. This build is great. Okay, if you had to sum it all up, what do you think you would say about this Cthulhu? I mean, there's some pretty gnarly stuff in here.
Oh, darkness comes is what I would call it.
That's really, really great. I love it. I love this gross stuff. I love the stuff that talks about, the whole going mad and the madness aspect of Cthulhu. Very, very well done. Before we get on to my build, we got to take a second like we always do and thank all of our patrons, everyone that's supporting the show over on patreon.com/HeroesForge. You too can support the show if you'd like to. Head on over to that website and check out all of our goals and ways that you can pledge to help make the show grow and get even better and bring you more awesome, cool content. Also, if you listen to the show on iTunes or your favorite podcasting app, drop us a 5-star review and make sure you leave your name if you enjoy the show. And that way we can give you a shout out on the show live or on the podcast recording, and you can get a little thank you from us. And thank you to everyone that has done that in the past. It really helps the show grow when they search for all of the amazing Heroes of the Storm podcasts that are out there. All right, let's get into my build over here, and I actually went a little different with my role classification for Cthulhu, and I'm going with the specialist.
My personal favorite. You have my vote with that already. All right, that's it. We're done. It's a specialist. Good.
I love what you said about assassin. And after you said that, I thought, damn, I should have gone with an assassin because it has a really good Cthulhu feel. And it was tough for me to come up with some specialist ideas, but we'll see how I did. So the trait over here I'm calling eye for an eye. So just like in Kaleb's build and just like in Kristen's build, the Cthulhu will take over the core in this build. It will live stationary and take over the core. But this is a little special trait inspired by the Hearthstone card Cthulhu. So while Cthulhu is taking over the core, it's important that the presence of this hero is still felt on the battlefield. Each time a friendly player secures a kill of an enemy hero, they will be able to give the Cthulhu player a stack of this trait, eye for an eye. These stacks increase until the Cthulhu player activates this trait and uses all of the stacks to send out damage-dealing orbs from the core. The number of orbs released from the core is determined by the amount of stacks that are used. These orbs travel fast across the battlefield and hit their targets, dealing damage. Damage is spread across all heroes on the battlefield randomly. Cthulhu will be a specialist hero that also has the ability to deal damage in large amounts to the enemy.
Ooh, that's both very awesome, but also very scary. Because what about those low death games?
That's
no! Cthulhu needs his team to be able to kill people.
That's the first thing I thought of too. I thought, you'd have to draft strategically. They take Lost Vikings, you pick up Cthulhu. They take heroes that don't die as quickly, like maybe there's 2 or 3 tanks. You're not going to be taking that Cthulhu because they're not going to die as much. So that was the first thought here. And also, just the fact that there's a lot of RNG involved in this makes me think that it could live in a trait world where, sometimes traits can be powerful, but you don't want them to be too powerful because you're putting them with this huge kit. So I wanted it to be random, just like the Hearthstone card where, and this is another thing I didn't talk about in the description, but when you secure a kill, you have to click on a button, kind of like when you had to throw the snowball or hit that ability to give Cthulhu the stack. It doesn't automatically go to Cthulhu. So you have to tap it to give him the stack, and also that goes on a cooldown for all heroes once you tap it. So it can't be super powerful. It can't get to like at a crazy amount because of that. So like on a quad kill, those kills all happen pretty quickly. So you'd probably only get 1 or 2 stacks from that depending on who got the killing blow. So it's an interesting idea that's I didn't want it to be too powerful.
Yeah, that's really, really neat. I like the idea that you have to activate. So your team has to be aware of the fact that they're feeding you, which kind of plays into the lore a bit, right? Because he mind controls and he creates the Karaji Empire, the
Yep.
bugs.
Hmm.
And yeah, so he's mentally controlling his team, feed me stacks and make me more powerful. Now,
Yeah.
with the orbs, do they lock on to enemy heroes and follow them until they hit Pyroblast style?
Yeah, they follow really fast, like faster than any sort of pyroblast. Like it's coming from the core, just like it does in Hearthstone. Just these purple orbs go traveling out and hit those heroes. And of course, talking about mounts, same thing as Kristen's build. No mounts because Cthulhu's stationary. So, talking about eye tentacles. Let's get into the first basic. This first one's called Eye Tentacle. Similar to the Cthulhu encounter in World of Warcraft, Cthulhu is able to summon a tentacle to the battlefield that will remain stationary and act like a Tychus laser. The eye will shoot a beam at the closest target. Now this is different because it also target mercenaries, minions, or heroes, and continue to do damage until it is destroyed or its timer runs out. The cooldown for this ability would be set up so that there could only be one tentacle on the battlefield at a time. Of course, it can be talented into later in the game to allow the player to place more than one tentacle. It could even add slowing properties via talents, or even do damage over time with talents. So basically you're putting these eyeball tentacles out and they're just zapping things down, and I imagine because you're a specialist, you're dropping them in lanes so that they could burn down minions, mercenaries, and maybe even towers and things once you get to that point.
Which is super powerful too, because if you put points into having more than one tentacle, that's at least 2 lanes you're soaking at once, maybe even 3 if you can get it up that high.
Yeah, so getting that XP, acting like a specialist, and then once your minions or maybe a mercenary camp is pushing a lane, you could put a tentacle close enough where it wouldn't take tower shots and be able to do damage to structures too. And you could even place them near camps and try to take camps with them, which is how you get to this second basic ability here called Abandon. So the Cthulhu player can select a mercenary camp on the battlefield to entangle it with its tentacles, kind of like a murky octograb. This camp will not be able to attack and will also take small amounts of ticking damage during the duration of this ability. These tentacles can be destroyed by the enemy team and also count as the presence of a hero during the capture of a camp. So you can kind of sneak in there if you know somebody's taking a camp and you have vision of that area. You can drop these tentacles on it right before it dies and kind of lock it down, and they have to kill the tentacles first before they can kill the camp and take it, or maybe they just abandon it and you get to kill the camp. So the way I figured that would work is that it would add a shield to the mercenaries, which would represent the health of these tentacles.
That is really, really cool, because what I'm learning with the practicing of Samuro and even Sylvanas and Murky, of course, with grabbing the Merc camps, joining team fights, and the whole ebb and flow and when you should and shouldn't do that stuff, delaying this can throw off the game. It can absolutely destroy a team's hold on the map. I like that.
Yeah, and I love the idea of just trying to steal someone's mercenary camp. And also you can use it offensively, because you can put this ability on the camp and then drop an eye tentacle there that'll be doing damage alongside the tentacles that are holding them. And so you can try to take camps by yourself that way without actually being on the battlefield.
Right, and then you have sight too, so you know exactly where the teams are, and you can see if maybe someone's trying to solo, and you can run in and gank them, hopefully, if you see them in time.
Yeah, it'd be really neat. And that leads really well into the third basic, which is actually my featured forger ability from Kaleb, and it's called Core Drain. This I thought was a really, really neat idea. This is more like a support thing, I think, than in my build, but it fits really well. So Core Drain, you activate it to start draining the life of the core. It's starting to kill you, and it makes your team lose, basically, is what Kaleb is saying here, because you're draining the health of the core. But the give and take for this is that it gives all of your team double their stats for every 30 seconds that this is working. So it's kind of like a rally cap kind of thing, where you're saying we are going to take some damage for our core, but also we're going to be stronger for this right before we go into a team fight. And then Kaleb goes on to say that it would take 10 of these abilities to be activated in order to completely drain the core of health. And you could actually, troll it out and actually destroy your core if you had to.
I'm speechless. Now, I want to say Blizzard would put the 1 health point stipulation on there, right? You can't kill the core, because we know there would be those jerks out there who would just ruin it for everybody. But oh my goodness, that would be sick. That's just so inventive. You would drain the core to buff your team because you believe you would be strong enough in order to take the victory. The sacrifice alone is such a compelling story.
The reason I took this is because I had a dream of what would happen if there was this great esports moment where you were pushing the enemy's core and they were trying to come to you, and something was happening where you said, I have to make the decision to make my team stronger, but I'm probably going to lose. But is that gamble enough to give them enough power for them to destroy the enemy core before we die in this 30-second period? I mean, that would be such a cool esports moment.
Edge of the seat. And you wouldn't even know if it was going to pay off either, because you wouldn't be able to see the progression bars equally until that buff was applied to your team. And only then could you see if your team, given the buff, would be able to drain the enemy team's core faster than you yourself could be killed by the enemy team.
Yeah, or maybe the immortals, or maybe you're in there, trying to, you'd have to really get a feel. And you're 100% right, because I'm thinking right now, it depends on the assassins you have. It depends on what they're doing. It depends on the teamwork of the team to make that sacrifice worth, right? You got to go in there knowing everyone's going to attack the core. Everyone would have to be attacking the immortal. Everyone would have to be pushing the same spot, trying to take the boss or whatever, to make it worth it for you to lose health on your core.
Yeah, and like I said, the story of that, I think some of the most compelling, because that's what we're playing, right? When we get into these matches, are stories. They're battle stories that we bring home and tell and share with our friends. I had this great 5v5, and here's all the crazy stuff that happened. So the idea that you're then forcing someone to sacrifice life, potentially sacrifice victory in order to potentially obtain victory. Ooh, the teeter-totter is amazing.
Yeah, it's really great. So that's Core Drain. I can't take credit for that one because it was Kaleb's idea of an awesome ability for Cthulhu. So let's get into my heroics here. This first one is called Death is Close. This ability allows the Cthulhu player to reveal the location of all the enemy heroes on the battlefield for a short amount of time. Unlike the ability that Zul'jin has, this does not require any prerequisites to make it happen. So there are no visual indicators for the enemy team that they have been revealed. They have no idea that this is happening. So it can be used to set up ambushes or allow the friendly team to push a lane when they know the location of the entire enemy team. And this would be on a very short cooldown that could be used often.
That would be scary because right now, if you're laning by yourself, you can, if you watch the minimap and you know how to read it, you can safely tell when you can push and when you can't push. But if you're being watched all the time like this and you don't know you're being watched, ooh, it would be a much more terrifying environment, which is the whole point of playing with the Cthulhu on your team, right?
Absolutely. And it's got that whole ever watching eye feel to it. Like you have no idea when you've been spotted. And Zul'jin, that ability, I've taken it a couple of times, and it requires you to get a kill on all of the enemy heroes individually, all 5 of the different people you're playing against, in order to get this view all where they are. And they get a visual indicator, like it says you've been spotted, it goes off on your screen, so you know what's going on. But with this, I wanted it to be really mysterious and not ever know when you've been spotted,
right? Because our little puerile brains in comparison to his vast knowledge of the cosmos would probably not be able to pick up being spotted by something of that ancientness.
Yeah, it'd be really cool. And the ever-watching eye is always watching you. All right, let's talk about the second heroic. I'm calling this one Your Nightmare Begins. All right, tell me if you think this is useful or not, because after I wrote it, I thought, it's probably not useful. This is a global fear for all heroes on the battlefield. When activated, all heroes will be feared and run in random directions for a short amount of time, and it's global, so everybody just runs everywhere. Is that a useful...
Including your team?
Yes.
I think it could be. You know, because gut instinct would be, well, why would you want to fear your team? That's silly. That doesn't make any sense. But think about it. Think if you're having a really, really bad engage and you need to break away or you need to get the enemy team off of your team because they are just so perfectly coalesced. You hit that fear and suddenly what was once a brick wall about to crush your team is dispersed. Your team was already dispersed, so what the heck else is going to happen, right?
Right.
But once it ends, then you get a chance to breathe fresh, to either get away entirely to collect your thoughts or to become the wall itself.
Yeah, and there's a random generator in there. And the reason I was thinking that this would be useful is in taking mercenary camps. Again, you could, if you know they're taking the boss, you could fear everybody globally, just bam, you're all feared, and then try to take that boss using the tentacles and things, because you wouldn't be feared, obviously, being Cthulhu, you wouldn't be able to run anywhere or do anything. So you could try to set things up while people are running around in that quick amount of time, try to gain the advantage, and I wanted it to be global, so I thought there has to be a give and take with that, and it would be that your team would be feared too. But I love what you said. I think in certain situations it may be useful.
Yeah, and here's another thing that okay, so we know fears work directionally. There are 4 directions you could basically run when you're feared by Gul'dan. So we can assume the same code would be applied to Cthulhu. So let's assume then in that case there are specific rules. It's not entirely random. And the specific rule is that whatever direction you're facing when this is hit is the direction you run. And each time you're feared, this length is the same length every time. So in that case, if you have an extremely organized team with great knowledge and communication, you can line up your heroes before the fear is set off. So that way you all are running in the direction you want to be running while the enemy team is who knows where.
Dang, I love that idea. Yeah, it'd be crazy to play with that. And communication is so important in this game altogether. And it's something that I think it definitely lacks in some games that I play. And that's probably why I'm in the league that I'm in right now, is the communication is so important. And with something like this, you'd have to be ready for it. And I mean, Kristen, you can relate, I'm sure, when you get in a game and the communication is just killer. It's so fun because even if you're losing, you guys are on the same page, or at least everybody's listening to each other, trying to find things out. When the danger pings come up, people don't run right into them. It's just, it feels like a better game, and I wish there was more of that. And maybe if there were more abilities like this, there would be more opportunities for people to chat more.
Maybe, but I'm of the camp that thinks a lot of people embarrass themselves. They do something they didn't mean to, so they get embarrassed. But instead of saying, I'm sorry, or trying to take it like a man and admit that they were the one that messed up, they get angry and they start pointing fingers, because if they're the one who's pointing the finger, clearly it wasn't their fault.
Right.
And they're just trying to protect their ego. It's a human thing to do. So I think unless we can get past that,
yeah,
we're just going to have crazy games.
That's right, and that's why this game is fun, because it's a crazy game. All right, that was my second heroic, inspired by Kaleb's build over here. If I had to sum it all up, it would be that statement. You know, Cthulhu is a specialist that can do large amounts of damage, so it would live in those specialists that are able to act as assassins if needed in that realm, you know?
I like it. I really, really like it. I think specialists with the ability to bring assassin-ish damage make up for the fact that they're not entirely a hero. Yeah, Abathur, Murky, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to take that puffer fish out or you're going to be taking damage you don't need to be taking. Or maybe I shouldn't say that because that's part of the strat is people that don't blow up the pufferfish.
Well, that's how you test the lanes. And some people get it, some people don't. And you always go in the lane with the person that doesn't get it because that's how you're going to stoke that XP.
Have you found it ever where there's a game where you can't find somebody that doesn't know what to do with that pufferfish?
No.
Yep.
No. I've found teams that don't care and they've just steamrolled. But I'm also on teams at that point that don't understand the role Murky is supposed to play. So it's just a mess. And if Murky can't fill his role because the team you're on doesn't know what that role is supposed to be, kind of like an Abathur,
right,
it goes bad really quickly.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Got to take out that pufferfish. All right. Before we can say that these heroes are forged, we got to get into the best part, the specialty skins and dances. Kristen, what is your specialty skin for Cthulhu?
Okay, so the specialty skin, I gave it some thought, and I thought it'd be really cool if it was a giant puzzle box from Hellraiser, right? And instead of tentacles, it brought in Cenobites.
I love it. That's perfect. I mean, that's really, really perfect. My idea is less original than that. I was thinking, obviously when we start thinking about this giant eye, the first thing I start thinking about is the Dark Tower from Lord of the Rings with this big eye on top of it. I thought, you know what, that's not as original as I want to be. So I said, let's put it as the pyramid on the $1 bill with the eye on top of it, when you look at a US $1 bill. And then he would have a special line that would say, "In Cthulhu we trust."
I love it. Maybe there's a little banner hanging on each side of the pyramid that says "In Cthulhu we trust." So would he still summon tentacles? Or maybe eagles with arrows?
Yeah, maybe like, something to do with money or something to do, I don't know. But I just think, because I'm going to be honest, I Googled great and powerful eye, and I just went through and I looked at all this and I was like, oh, you could do the great and powerful Oz from Wizard of Oz, but that's kind of lame. And then I was like, wait a second, there's a picture of a $1 bill with the eye on top of a pyramid. That's pretty cool. But the music box is such a great idea and it's super original.
Thanks, but I don't think the Oz would be bad at all. Great and powerful Oz would be incredible because it's just a giant green head, and we have the flying monkey, so clearly we need more Oz people. And I mean, Vala could get a Dorothy skin.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we've got a lion skin for Greymane.
Oh yeah. Now we just need like a Tin Man, who could be like Rainer.
I like it. Or even Leoric, too, just a beat-up old Tin Man.
Although I do have to say, I have to throw in my my Janitor Leoric plug this episode because I haven't done it yet. Every time I watch those skin announcement videos, I'm crossing my fingers and I'm saying, Janitor Leoric, come on, come on. Not yet. We'll have to wait till the next one.
In time, I think. We got our Asmodunk. It took some time, but we got it. So I think their ears are open, and they like it, too.
Let's talk about dances. My idea for a dance over here was when you typed /dance, Cthulhu would become the Bellagio fountains, but instead of fountains, it would be tentacles. So they would come out of the ground and just be dancing fountains.
That's perfect. Would it play different music each time? And would there be lights underneath lighting it up?
It would only play Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On, and there would be lights after 20.
As long as it levels up, right? That's great. I've never thought of a dance that levels up in Heroes, but that would be pretty cool.
What were you thinking?
Oh, mine was the first thing I thought of were those eyes in Mario 64 and the Boo's mansion level, and how you run around it and they watch you, and eventually they get so dizzy they die and turn into a blue coin. So I was thinking you wouldn't be able to dance, but you could hit the command dance. And if that happens and there's a hero nearby you, you watch them and they could run around and you'd follow them around for a few spins until you get dizzy.
Oh, that's really great. Yeah, the Mario 64. Wow, I haven't thought about that game in forever.
I know it was the first thing that came to mind, and I didn't even. I mean, the Bellagio fountain. That is gold right there. This is just a callback.
No, but that's really good too. It's going to be tough to vote on which one of these builds is rocking it better. I mean, Kaleb had some great ideas starting it all out, but these builds are completed, so we can definitely say that they were forged.
HeroesForge.
After the show tonight, we post up the voting, and you can vote on which one of these builds you think took the cake and won it all. Kaleb's build was amazing, and it'll be included in our show notes. You can always find our show notes on our website, which is heroesforge.club, and a huge thank you to Kaleb for sending this in. If you want to be featured on the show as a featured forger, you've got a great idea. You're thinking, oh man, they should really forge this character, or I got an idea for this character. Send it to us. It can be any sort of idea, and we'll just roll with it. We'll create something off of what you're coming up with. We'll pick up what you're laying down. You know what I mean, Kristen?
Oh, yes. Yes, we will. I mean, a lot of the time we've gone on suggestions, just names that have been dropped. And those turn out to be a lot of fun, actually, especially when they don't have much backstory. So keep that in mind, too.
Yeah, it can be anything. Anything that you want to put out there, just let us know. We forged some characters that don't have any backstory at all, but just live in these Blizzard universes, and that always turns out to be a really fun and hilarious time when we're in there making stuff up, and it just becomes crazy. So thank you again to Kaleb for sending it in. It'll be in the show notes if you want to see this awesome build. Kristen, Cthulhu and these characters that take over the core, whether it's the Overmind, whether it's someone, that's gonna live in this same realm, I think it's something that we will see sooner rather than later. I think probably in the next year or so, if not a BlizzCon reveal, where they reveal this crazy, game-changing idea where it takes over a core or something. I think we could see it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and who knows, maybe Ragnaros was their testing ground to see what it would be like with the hero that could take over structures. And from Ragnaros, I'm sure the team is gathering a lot of valuable information that they can then send to the design team, who may or may not be playing with a hero that could take over the core.
Yeah, it's really neat. And we had some ideas about the Overmind when we had a special guest on right when we first started the show about a year ago. Check out that episode. I believe it's episode number 3. You can check it over at our website as well and see what we thought about that. But I think you're right. I think we'll see something like this because I didn't even think about the Ragnaros thing like you said. That's a really good point. Maybe they're testing it out. Who knows? Maybe we'll see something cool.
Hopefully, and it's a great way to do a lot of bigger characters like Cthulhu justice, right? Because Ragnaros was a raid boss, but moving him around doesn't feel like an injustice. However, you bring in Cthulhu, or like you had with Ahn'Qiraj, something big and ancient, those things don't really move around.
Right. And they're just these massive things, and they really did a great job with Ragnaros, becoming this elemental, beast, for lack of a better word, inside of one of the forts or keeps. It feels really good. So hopefully they can have something cool like that for a character like Cthulhu. All right, Kristen, where can people find you on the interwebs and all the great stuff that you do out there?
People can find me at Dream Destroyer, that is DRMDESTRYR, over at Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube.
Very neat. And you can find me right here on HeroesForge. We record the show live every Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/Amove TV. And I know I said this before, but we really are back on the Sunday night schedule now for a couple weeks, for the foreseeable future. We're flexible. We're bringing you an episode every week, and sometimes we have to change it around. So thank you for sticking with us. But right now we are back on Sunday nights for the foreseeable future, getting these episodes to you at 7 p.m. on twitch.tv/Amove TV, because we are part of the Amove TV entertainment network. Check out amove.tv. They have some great podcasts over there, some really cool stuff. Overwatchers is one that I haven't plugged yet, but one that I listen to constantly, because if you're a fan of Overwatch, you got to get on this. I mean, it's got some great stuff talking about esports, the game. Like all of the shows over on Amove, it's top notch awesome show. So check it out, Amove.tv, Overwatchers. You can follow our show on Twitter at Forge Heroes, and that's where you also can get the insight of who we're forging every week and also vote on which build you think was better. You can email us, contactheroesforge@gmail.com. You can also check out our website, heroesforge.club, and a huge thank you to our patrons over at patreon.com/heroesforge, where you too can help support the show and help us grow. So Kristen, Cthulhu, I think we could see him in the future. I think this is great. We're going to call it there, and we'll thank you all for listening, and we'll see you all in the real world.